Welcome back to our home renovation remodel thing. Working on this kitchen here. So this time I'm gonna get started on the thing that I have been looking for the most since the beginning, and is making drawers because dovetails. So this time I'm just gonna be focusing on the drawers that are just drawers. There are more weird and complicated sliding things in this kitchen, but this time it's just a drawer that is only a drawer. It's not a drawer behind a drawer. It's not a drawer behind a door. It's not a full pull-out thing. It's just a drawer, and that's all it is. And although I've built probably, I don't know, hundreds of drawers in my life, I have never used undermount drawer slides before, so I already went ahead and I kind of mocked up and built out one full drawer just to get a feel for what the heck I'm doing to make these slides actually work, because I have never gone through that process before. So just a quick overview of the, the drawer itself. We have a knob or the pull. The front is the same thickness as the face frame. That's a piece of maple, which should be painted just like the face frames. The boxes themselves are white oak. They're 5/8 of an inch thick, and I got through dovetails in the front here and in the back. And then the bottom will be a piece of 1/2 inch white oak plywood, which I won't see for another week and a half or so. So I'm just getting started today making the boxes and everything. So the slides, they come with the diagrams, and I spent some time with this to work through this whole box to make sure that it was correct. And the one sort of problem that I had is I put the groove for the drawer bottom in the wrong spot. I misread the diagram and put that in the wrong spot. So making one entirely in here and installing it made it a lot easier to kind of visualize what all was going on. And like most people say with these undermount slides, they seem challenging and complicated at first, but once you go through the process once, like I have here, it just kind of all clicked and just started to make sense. So we're gonna start by making the boxes, and we're gonna start with these 6 right here because they're all the same height. They're just 2 different widths of the same size drawer, essentially. So let's go get the white oak out of the barn for all the boxes. So here is the stock we're going to use for all of the drawer boxes. This is the leftover white oak that I have from when I made the floor. When I started that, I had 1,600 board feet of mill run, random width boards, random grain patterns. I went through the whole stack and I pulled out any sections that are riffs on to create my actual floorboards out of. So the remainder here is going to be primarily cathedral grain plain sawn, and there's probably some quarter sawn stock in here as well, which will be perfect for a bunch of drawer boxes. Okay, iterated through twice just to break out the monotony. So we have stock for 12 drawers, the 6 drawers on the sink wall and the 6 drawers in the hutch. And these are all over thickness still. The last thing I'm going to do is take this all down to final dimension, final thickness. And I'm going to walk through all the dimensions to make this hopefully easier for anyone else who goes through this. But on the diagram here, you can see for the stock thickness, it's up to 5/8 of an inch max. And with the stock thickness, this is all kind of like all the dimensions are based off of the inside or the distance between the two slides here. So 5/8 is what I'm going to do because I have the stock for it. I'm going to keep it nice and thick, but you could drop that down to like 1/2 inch if you're trying to make this out of 1/2 inch plywood or something. But just keep in mind that the dimension that you pick for the stock thickness impacts the size of the front of the drawer box because it's going to change this dimension here. So that's that. We're going to get this whole stack planed, and then I will see you over on the table saw. Start ripping parts. Now for the stock width, that's actually given on here. It's 13/16 of an inch shorter than the opening, which gives you the clearance here for the bottom of the slides as well as a built-in 1/4 inch clearance from the top of the drawer box to the top of the opening. And that is more of a maximum dimension. You can always make this, less tall if you want to, but I don't know, there's always something like weird to me about doing that when like the drawer box is only like this tall. I get why it's like that. It's to save material and then save cost, but it just seems, I don't know, it just seems weird to me because then like stuff can like spill over. So I'm making my boxes basically the full height that you can do with these just because I like that look better. And, that's how I am. So that opening minus 13/16 so it'll be what my stock is for my fronts and my sides. And then I'm not going to do a captive bottom. So my back panel or my back board is going to be an inch narrower than the sides in the front. That's my clearance for my slides plus my drawer bottom. So my drawer bottom can slide underneath, and that'll all make sense when we actually get to building the actual box. Okay, onto some cross cuts. I'm going to take care of the sides first, and the overall length of those is going to be dependent on the slides, but this is kind of like the easy dimension. The overall length or the depth of your drawer box is going to be the length of the slide, as stated. So this one here is a 21 inch. That's going to be for a 24 inch base cabinet. And then on the hutch, I have 15 inch slides. I think that one's a 16 inch depth or something in there. So 15 and a 21, that's the total depth of the drawer box. And for the sides themselves, their actual length is going to depend on what joinery you do. I'm doing through dovetails, so my sides are just those exact lengths, 21 or 15. So crosscut time. Okay, there's all the sides. So next I'm going to start working through the fronts and backs, which are the same length. Again, my joinery goes all the way through, so everything is kind of the same, in that sense. So on the little diagram thing here, you can work out the distance that this is like smaller than the opening on either side using some junk down here. But basically, if you're using 5/8 material, it's 3/16 of an inch gap on either side. So we take 3/8 of an inch off of the total opening, and that becomes the length of the front and the back. Again, because the front and back go all the way through to the extents of the drawer box. There's no like weird joinery thing there at all. So I'm going to start working through my crosscuts on the fronts and backs. I have a few different sizes, so I just got to keep it straight of what what size goes where, and getting all of my cuts undersized correctly. Okay, all the parts are cut to length, so I'm going to move on to the groove for the bottom. So the slides themselves, they occupy a 1/2 inch. You need a 1/2 inch from the bottom of the drawer sides to the bottom of the drawer bottom. And in my case, I'm using a 1/2 inch panel for the bottom. So the top of the groove that's going to house that bottom panel needs to be 1 inch from the bottom edge of the side. So I'm going to set my fence here to 7/8, and that's going to give me a starting point of 1 inch to the top of the groove. And we're going to cut a 1/4 inch wide groove by 5/16 of an inch deep. And I'm going to do that in just a couple passes here with the ripping blade thing, because I don't feel like putting a dado blade in right now. Now I absolutely could make this groove a 1/2 inch wide and have my back panel just slide right in. But I don't have that stock, and we all know, who knows how thick that stuff actually is until you get it. So we will rabbet the bottom panel to fit the width of the groove. So there is all our stock. I'm just sorting through here to just kind of organize my sides into left and right sides of what I think will look the best, you know, as you pull the drawer out of the opening. And then we'll get into cutting all the joinery. It's all going to be dovetailed, and there'll be my, I don't know, my normal style of dovetailing, hand cut look, but people always get on me about the technicality. It's not really hand cut because I use the machines for some of the bulk work, but all the finesse work is all hand tool stuff. So that's what we're going to do. And this is like the one thing I've been looking forward to through this whole project, because screwing plywood together brings me zero joy. This, at least, I actually enjoy this. So I'm looking forward to being able to sit here and run through and cut some joinery. And 12 drawers, they're all going to be through dovetails because we have the applied front. I don't have to do a half blind on the front like I normally do. So it'll actually go pretty quickly, and I will actually enjoy myself in that process. And if someone's going to say like, oh man, this is a lot of drawers to dovetail like that, and I guess it kind of is, but in my experience, it kind of isn't. We got 12 drawers here. Obviously, there's going to be more, but 12 drawers, that's fewer dovetails than I would have on a spice box. And when I first started doing hand-cut dovetails, that's one of the projects that I did to really like learn and finesse my casework skills and dovetailing skills and whatever skills. And those have 13 dovetail drawers. So, and I made 5 of those things. And the case itself is dovetailed. So it's like 14 dovetailed drawers in one project. So to do 12 like this, all through dovetails, really not anything. I'm just going to do one sample layout on one of the boards, and then we're going to use the bandsaw to batch cut all the sides with the exact same tail pattern, and I'll do a symmetrical pattern. The only thing with my layout is that I want my groove to fall inside one of the tails. Since this is through dovetails on all sides, we'll have this little gap in the front, which doesn't matter because our applied front's going to cover it. But normally if you're doing a through dovetail like this, it'd be a stopped groove. I think 3 tails is going to be what we're going to do here, I think. The bandsaw is actually going to make all these spacing's the same and symmetrical and everything. I'm just doing a layout here to give me a rough guide when I go work to the saw, and just to make sure that I like the size and spacing of those tails. Okay, that's all of them. I'm just going to remove a bit of this waste here at the saw while I have it here, and then we'll finish the cleanup at the bench. So that takes care of the cleanup on all of the tails for all the sides. And I think from here what I'm going to do is just iterate through each individual drawer. So join the front and then cut and join the back and then move on to the next one. I think this is kind of it for batch work, I'm thinking at least. So I'm going to get a left and a right side. And I'll get my first drawer front and we'll start actually making a box. Let's see. These look kind of good together. I think that'll probably work. So like I mentioned earlier, you're going to have this little hole here from the groove, but again, doesn't matter because our applied front is going to go on top of it and you'll never see this face at all. So you can get away with the through groove here. This is the side you actually see when the drawer, actually opens. All right, that's one of 24. Yeah, I got 23 more of these to do. Okay, there's those two. So now we need a back. I'm gonna cut that pins first because variety is the spice of life. That's just something weird I do. I don't know why. I like cutting my drawer backs pins first for some reason. Maybe like 2 big tails or something. Let's see. Yeah, that looks good. 2 big tails it is. I like how fast that goes. It's pretty quick to make a pin board, which is a nice perk. So I'm using the groove as an alignment aid so I can get this thing set left to right where it needs to be. And then the drawer itself becomes a nice little holder, alignment jig thing to keep everything aligned while I get this thing laid out on here and transferred. I kind of like, it's kind of ugly. Let's put it this way. There's some arches in the grain here, and I want them arching up. You know, when you open the drawer and you look at the back of it and you see a nice pleasing grain pattern, just makes everything so much better. It's a good way to start your day, looking at some pleasing grain. Okay, this is drawer number 12, as you can see behind me. It's been a productive, I don't know, a couple of days here. I did most of those over the weekend. And as a bit of an aside, one thing I like about making drawers, besides the fact that I actually enjoy the process of dovetails, is that because it's so repetitive, I usually only film one drawer. So then for the other drawers, I get to pretend like I'm a regular woodworker again and not have to worry about moving a camera around, worry about blocking the camera, what the camera sees. I can just do the work and remember and reminisce what that feels like. So what I was going to do today is the stock for the bottoms came in, and I was going to go pick that up today and do all the bottoms for all these drawers and kind of keep going that way. But it's raining today, so I'm not going to be hauling sheet goods uncovered in the rain. So what I'm going to do is keep going and make some more drawers. So once this one here is together, we're going to head back upstairs. I think I'll install some of the slides and we can kind of cover that. And then I'll show you the next group of drawers we're going to build. Sort of the anomalies there. And we can kind of go from there and finish up these drawer things. This actually, I know it seems like a lot, but this is not that many drawers. This is still fewer drawers than a highboy, or than the highboy that I made. And with the highboy, and most pieces of furniture I do, my drawer fronts are going to be half blinds, and with these being all through dovetails, this is a lot faster of a process than half blinds. So not too bad. This isn't even the most drawers that I've made in a single, I don't know, what do you want to call it, batch, group, or whatever. I think that that would have been Christmas of 2012. I decided it'd be a good idea to make spice boxes for my parents, my in-laws, and my wife. And each of those, I think, is 13 dovetail drawers. And that was more work than all of these will be. So, I don't know what I'm getting at with that, but I know someone's going to give me crap for doing hand-cut dovetails on kitchen drawers, but I mean, a drawer is a drawer, a dovetail box is a dovetail box, whether it's a drawer or a case or whatever, it's all the same. It's the same process. It's very repetitive, which is one thing I like, again, because you can do so many different things and so many different techniques and so many different varieties. I was getting to this point that you can mix and match for whatever your mood is that day. Okay, number 12 is the crotch drawer. Love it. All right, so here are the slides. We can take a closer look at these. I have never used or bought undermount drawer slides before, so these are the first ones I ever bought or used or installed or whatever. These are the Sawmill F70. They're a 70 kilo rated slide, which means that when my drawers are installed, I can stand in all of them holding a bucket of water, and the drawers will be fine. So having never used these things before, I did do a little bit of research and watch some videos. I came across a video that Rob did over at Today's Craftsman doing an install of these slides. He made it super easy looking. So far it has been. But that's the only real reason I went with this particular slide, this particular brand, because I saw that video. Otherwise, this is a pretty heavy built slide. A couple of the little more interesting features, I guess. On the bottom side, you have the rack and pinion thing, so that when the two slides are linked together with the drawer front, they can't rack because one can't move out more than the other side. So you get some anti-racking there. Everything is pretty well built, and the soft close is very smooth. So I bought one set this try on that drawer. I liked it, and I bought some more. Price point, it's going to depend on who you're buying them from, if you have a commercial account or whatever. These ones are from Woodworker Express, and the slides themselves I think were like $38. And then you'll have the clips that actually attach the drawer box to the slides, which we'll cover later. Those are going to be separate and additional. And then you'll also need to buy screws to install them. So it's sort of like a whole thing. You need the slide, you need a clip. There's also a rear clip if you want rear adjustability, and we'll get into adjustability later. And then you need screws as well. So you need to have at least 3 things, and 4 things if you want adjustability in the back. So one of the things that I'm not used to is adjustability. Normally, my drawers, I build them, either they go in, they fit perfectly, or they don't. Then you got to remake your drawer. Or make it smaller, but if you make it too small, then you got to remake your drawer. So this will be interesting, being able to adjust the drawer left to right, up and down. I don't think we'll need the tilt adjustment, because if you install these things perpendicular to your face frame, you shouldn't need to adjust the drawer up or down like that. I assume that's really just more like your box is so screwed up, or your slides are that screwed up, or possibly what I'm thinking mostly will be is on the larger ones where you have a front that's like the whole height or 2 feet tall or something, then a little bit of misalignment in your slide is going to exaggerate the top of that door, or I guess is the drawer front at that point. It looks like a door. So maybe then that might be a concern, but for a drawer front that's only this tall, I don't think a tilt adjustment is going to be all that needed. So I'm going to start installing some slides. Jeez. I'll scratch the paint. So I'm using 2 sticks here to support the slide and get it in position. This is going to reference off the bottom. So in theory, the bottom of the cabinet should be square to the face frame, but if it isn't, this could also get you in trouble, because you could set all these slides at the same angle as the bottom, which wouldn't be necessarily square to the face frame. So I'm doing this to kind of get them set. I have one in the front, one in the back, so I can do both sides, and I can cut them shorter as I go down the line. But I also have a square here, so I can double check that things are actually correct. That one's good. So whoever made this cabinet they put the bottom on square. Good job. Good job, cabinet guy. I'm just going to put 2 screws in for now, and then when we actually get the drawer boxes in here and I feel a little more confident, then I'll go back and put several more in. As far as in and out position, these slides get set 1/8 of an inch back from your finished face. So mine are all inset, so I need to set, oh look, a bug. I need to set my, my slide 1 inch back from the face frame because all of my drawer fronts are 7/8. So that little magnetic block there sticks to the slide and allows me to put it at the right distance front to back. And then having these little things here just kind of make it a little bit easier now because I have something to kind of rest things on while I get my sticks into the correct position, and I can get my little block on there. It attaches to that. Okay, that's good. And of course, this is also something that'd be a lot easier to do if you do this before you assemble all the cabinets and the boxes, or even before you install them, so you can lay them on their side. You're not fighting gravity the whole time. Most of the time, from the guys that are doing this with the CNC will pre-drill all the holes too. So you just lay the slide in place and screw it in. I have been doing it like this because I have been doing the fun thing of spreading costs over time. So these are they're not the most expensive part of this project, but they represent a large capital outlayment. So I have been waiting to buy these until absolutely necessary. And one for sure thing is this would be a lot more difficult to do after countertops are installed. Because you don't have access to the top, which for the back screw makes it really easy. You can just reach down in here, but you know, do what you have to do, I guess. As things are kind of like progressing here with the project in time, we just had the countertops measured. So trying to get rid of the things that have to happen before they get here with the countertops, whenever that is going to be. So this install on these guys is going to be a little bit different. You can see on the ones that made sense, I ran my sides flush with the face frame, and the plywood box parts, whatever, the partitions. These are 1 inch thick and the plywood is 3/4, so I can only like flush up to one side. So on where it makes sense, it's flush, and then on other places it's not. So in this opening here, I need to pad out both sides because I have a 1/4 inch step in here, so that needs to get padded out. You can see over here it's flush. I thought it made more sense to go flush over here because you actually see that, and there'll be slides in here as well. In here, you won't be able to see the slide or the padding or anything, so I need to make some 1/4 inch basically spacers to go behind the slides for the left and right of this opening, and then the right side of this opening. But for the most part, everywhere that makes sense, where it's just a box, all the sides are running flush with the face frame, so I don't have to worry about padding anything out when I go to install the slides. So I'm gonna have to make some spacers. that takes care of the slide install, at least all the slides for what we're gonna get done in this video. And I think I'm gonna roll into the next batch of drawers. I'm gonna work on the upper banks, the 5-inch drawers. So similar to the one that I had made previously, we're gonna do some of those. So I have these two here. I have this one. This is the one I already did. I'm gonna skip this one and this one. They are gonna be obstructed. We have a pop-up outlet that goes into the countertop that's going to be in the cavity of both of those drawers. So I have to make some kind of weird drawer to go in there. So we're going to skip those for now. We have this one and the other end one. The two middle ones are also obstructions because we have the drop-in charging station thing in the back. So we're going to do, what's that, 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next. All right, there is 17 dovetailed drawers. Ta-da! Stack of drawers. Okay, so all the joinery is done. I'm just gonna be working through sanding and glue up and basically finish prep of all the boxes. So I will be finish sanding the inside surfaces and the outside surfaces. I just leave those as just a rough initial sanding because the final sanding on the outside surfaces will occur after glue up because we have to flush up all the joinery. So just a lot of sanding here. And one little tip, I guess, if you haven't finished sanded the inside of your stock before cutting all of the joinery, you want to avoid sanding the tails and the pins on the surfaces because you will introduce gaps. So you'll see as I'm sanding, I'm stopping short of the end of the board and not sanding into the joinery area because you only make the mistake once. You sand that area and you'll end up with some gaps as your boards come back together. So then once I get the sanding done, I can go over to the assembly table and glue them together and just making sure everything comes together nicely and making sure the box is actually square. And then once it comes off of the assembly table, it can go into the queue for finish sanding on the outside. That's primarily going to be, flushing up the joinery, getting the outside up to final sanding grit, getting the edges, breaking the edges, and just getting them all 100% ready to head off to the finishing shop. Okay, so for finish on here, we're going to do some water base. I'm going to use this stuff like I did on the island to kind of main reasons there. First off, this will kind of take a lot of the yellows out of this white oak, kind of match what we did on the island, sort of a semi-whitewash type of look, just kind of cool off the colors a little bit. They don't necessarily have to match like that because the interiors of all the cabinets are a oil finish maple, so there's a lot of yellow and amber in there. But that leads me to the next reason why I want to use this stuff is just to get rid of it, because I have no other use for this stuff, and these are like $80 a jug. So if I can use them up somehow, that's a preference of mine. So that's water base, and then I'm just going to go on top of it with a water-based top coat just to kind of keep up with the water-based thing. The nice thing about using a water base on top of a water-based sealer is that I don't have to worry about blotching like I did on the island by putting an oil base on top of the water base. And I'm spraying all these this time just to kind of get through it. We got 18 drawer boxes here to spray or get finish applied to. This is probably going to be like 4 coats standing between all the coats. I also have the stock for the drawer bottoms here as well, the full sheets. I'm going to pre-finish those so that when we go back to the shop, we can just cut the bottoms, install them, and they're done. I don't have to cut them, fit them, take them out, finish them, and then reinstall them. I can do that all as one single stream of operation, and I think it's just going to be easier because I'll have less pieces. That's a few sheets of plywood versus 18 individual drawer bottoms that would have to be sprayed separately. All right, there we go. 18 drawers, the 17 we just made. The one, this is not it, the one that I did before to figure out undermount slides, and 3 sheets of bottom stock. 4 coats on everything, 2 coats of sealer, 2 coats of top coat, and I'm gonna start working through putting in drawer bottoms now. So I'm going to organize my drawers by, footprint size or whatever, because a lot of them should have a lot of the same size drawer bottoms, so I can run through and batch cut however many of the same drawer bottoms, and that should make the process go a little bit quicker. Once the bottoms are cut to size, we can just put a rabbet on the bottom and then they should slide right into place. That one nice and smoothly. I like that. Now, one sort of downside to this is I wasn't able to get 1/2-inch white oak with a veneer core. To do a veneer core, I'd have to go up to 3/4 of an inch thick, which would be absolutely ridiculous for drawer bottoms. So, unfortunately, I guess, these are MDF core, which I'm not super excited about. So I'm just sealing up the exposed MDF edges with some polyurethane. I'm using an oil base for this because if I use a water base to seal this, it's just going to swell the MDF and it's going to change the fit of my rabbet into my grooves. And that's one of the reasons why I pre-finished the whole sheets, because I knew I was going to use a water-based finish for this. And if I had done that, cut all of these panels and then finish them, my tongues here would be too big. They'd swell. They wouldn't fit the grooves anymore, which you could kind of work around. You cut them undersized so they're loose to begin with by some magic amount. Trial and error kind of thing, I guess, if you want to play with it. And then when they come back from finishing, they should fit perfectly, but that's not something that I really want to do. So this worked out pretty well. Just a quick little list thing here. Now, if anything happens to these drawer bottoms in the future, it's one of the advantages of the slip under drawer bottom is that at any point you can easily remove the bottom and replace it or change it or whatever if anything should happen to it. That's backwards. Okay. Okay, fun time is over. It's back to diagrams because we need to get these drawers ready to receive the slides. Or the slides ready to receive the drawers? No, the drawers ready to receive the slides. Fortunately, this one's a little bit easier. All we need is a hole in the back here to engage with the little hook thing that's on the back here. That's what actually holds the drawer box to the slide. So we need to drill a hole in here to receive that. The diagram is fairly straightforward and, I don't know, simpler than the other ones to read at least. Again, everything's going to be based off of the inside, so the distance from the side is 1/4 inch. So if you want to measure from the outside, it's 1/4 inch plus your material thickness. So in my case, that's going to be 7/8 of an inch. And then the other one is you want it to be 7/16 of an inch off of the drawer bottom stock. So in my case, I'm just going to lay out and drill this hole to 3/8 of an inch deep. You can buy a jig for this. You can make a jig for this. For me, it's simple enough to mark a line 7/8 of an inch in from the end. And I know 7/16 of an inch up from the bottom is just past my face veneer into the MDF field, and I can drill right there. So now the slide's a little hook thingy can just go boop, right into there, and that's how it will be attached inside of the cabinet, hooked in the back. Now next up are the clips. These are what's actually going to clip the drawer to the slide, and these are available in a few different configurations. There are ones that go in just like this and just kind of mount below the front lip of the drawer. There are ones that lap over and you can screw directly this way into the drawer front. This style, there are pocket hole style holes in here like toenail to get into the drawer front, which I'll use, or you could screw it to the drawer bottom, however you want to go with that. And this is 2 lefts for some reason. Is it right? And then there's a varying degree of like cost on these 2. Simple ones with like absolutely no adjustments, they can be cheaper than the ones that have adjustments. So we'll look at the adjustments on the clips now since you can actually see them. You have this dial here, which you can see this guy moving. This moves the drawer whole box left and right, so you would turn this one and the other one, the left one, at the same time to get it to move one way or the other. And then you also have this guy here, which moves it in and out. The big orange things are what actually disconnects you from the slide. So if I pull on that, you can see this little pin thing retract. That's what actually clips you onto the slide. And then the adjustment to move the whole box up and down in the opening is here on the slide itself. You can slide this little ramp thing forward or back, and that's going to lift or lower the box. So you can lift the whole thing evenly. You can tip it one way or another if your slides are at slightly different elevations or whatever. So there's plenty of adjustment on these things, and these just get screwed into the front with some of these guys. And because it's easier to show now with it upside down than when this thing's actually installed, you see this little thing grabs it, and now the clip is actually engaged with the slide. Okay, so let's slide box prep, whatever you want to call it. I have a few more these to do, and then we can start slamming these boxes into the cabinets. Okay, so I'm working through all of my drawer faces. I am doing 3 32nds of an inch gap all the way around. So I made all my stock up. I ripped everything to width, the opening minus 3/16. That's 3 32nds for the top and bottom. And I did go through and I measured the left and right side, the height of every drawer, and the cabinet maker did an okay job. Most of them were consistent from left to right. There were a few that were just a little bit out that I already accounted for, so all my fronts are to width. Now I'm just going through and cut them all down to final length. So the first thing I'm doing is I make a square cut and then check it against the opening to see how that's doing. These two were fine. This bottom one I know is just a little bit out. So the stop block I have up there is from when I cut the first one. So I can just cut them all to the same length all the way down. And now I just got to cut this bottom one. And we can get these 3 more here attached. So starting with a square cut on the end, if I put this in here and I slide up against that stile, you can see I have a gap at the top and I'm tight at the bottom. So I'm going to remove some material from down here. I'm just going to tip the saw or angle the saw a little bit. So now it's sitting there nicely. I'm going to go and we'll check this side. That side's actually pretty good at square. So I have the saw already set for this angle here. I'm going to mark the final length. So that's the actual width of the opening. That's the gap that I want for both sides. So 3/16. That's my final cut length right there. And there we go. Something like that. So when we actually mount this, I'll have that spacer there. And the spacer here, and it'll be the same space left to right. So something like that. So 3/32 of an inch, which is a lot more than I would do on a piece of furniture. But one thing is this isn't painted yet, so this gap will actually close up a little bit once there is a coat of paint on there. So the next thing I want to do is drill the holes for the hardware into these drawer fronts. And that's going to allow me to use those holes to temporarily attach the fronts to the boxes so I can screw them in from the back. And what I'm doing is I am basically taking the drawer fronts all the way through like final install before I paint them. That way if I screw up anything, the painter can fix it and you'll never know that I drilled a hole in the wrong spot, or like I did earlier, I used too long of screws and I had screws popping through the front. So now's a good time to make all those stupid mistakes because they are inconsequential at this point. The top drawers just get a single knob, so I just mount these in a centered hole. The ones below the top have a handle, so it has a hole spacing of 4 inches. I just made this block here with 2 holes that are 4 inches apart with the center lines, and I just line it up and drill the holes. So as I get this last one on here, one little thing I guess is with the adjustability of the drawers themselves. You know, I'm trying to get them pretty close from the get-go with my spacers and my shimmed and everything being in here. Closer I get it, the less I have to rely on the adjustments, but I'm also being a lot more sloppy and careless than I would if I didn't have those adjustments to kind of fall back on. And at this point, I'm not using the adjustments. I'm just getting them on here. I worry about actually adjusting everything at the very end. After the fronts are painted, because I already know like this one's got to move that way a bit. Some of them have to come in and out, and I know a couple of them over there, the slides themselves have to go back because they don't have enough travel on the adjustment to actually bring the drawer in. The drawer is proud of the face frame, and I can't suck it back any further than it already is. So I will have a good amount of time messing with every drawer. Maybe not every drawer, but a lot of the drawers to get them a lot more consistent, a lot closer to perfect, or lined up at least, so they actually look consistent. That's kind of the biggest thing, like always. It's got to look consistent. Okay. So this is the last of the drawers that I'll actually like install or whatever now. I have these up here for these top drawers, which you haven't made yet, that I'll cut to fit and paint them with this batch so that when I actually build those boxes, the fronts will be ready to go on. I'll even drill the hole for the hardware too. But I don't know, just for an idea, there's that bank of drawers off the paint. So that takes care of the basic drawers, all of these simple basic ones, drawers that are just drawers. I do have a few drawer fronts that are still out in the paint shop, but putting these things back on is literally the fastest part of this whole process. I want to wrap up with two things real quick. First off, there's countertops here. You're going to see glimpses of the countertops for the next few episodes until the countertop episode where we do the fabrication and install of the countertops. As of right now, they're not done yet. They're doing that in 2 iterations. Second of all, I know people like numbers and data, so I thought I've been kind of keeping track of these batch of 18 drawers to give you some context on how long things take, I guess. And I can break up this whole process of this video into 3 18-hour chunks, so roughly 3 hours per drawer. First 18-hour chunk is going from rough stock through all the joinery. That is 1 hour per drawer. And then going from that point of having just a joinery cut, glue up, sanding prep, or finish prep sanding, finishing and installing drawer bottoms. That's another 18-hour chunk. The majority of that, about 12 hours, was finishing. And then for the faces, again, another 18 hours there. the majority of that was spray finishing and getting them all coated. So I think that was 10 or 11 hours of finishing on the drawer faces. So next time we get back into drawers, we'll be doing some of the more weird, complicated ones, the one with instructions, drawers behind drawers, weird stuff like that. So thank you as always for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments on making a bunch of drawers for your kitchen, please feel free to leave me a comment. As always, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And until next time, happy working.